So hey anime, the series name is What If Naruto Have New Teammate Kabu and Haku. So let's start the series. Naruto had just returned and had once again been berated and made to feel worthless by the girl he thought he loved. He had had enough and wasn't going to take it anymore. He decided to show Konoha what a mistake it was to anger the container of the Ice Maiden Shiva. He rigged his apartment to explode, making it seem like he was inside when it happened. He planned to find a new village and start over there. Dressed in a sleeveless black shirt, black cargo pants, and a black cloak to hide his face, he created a couple of Kage-bushins to distract the guards and sneaked out of the village on his way to a new life. As he walked, he considered where to go and decided to seek advice from his tenant on what to do. After a while, he found a place to spend the night. Once everything was set up, he entered his own mind, where he had a room prepared for his tenant. He knocked on the door and walked in to find a woman who looked about 21 years old, with long blue hair and a curvy figure. She had startling crystal eyes and greeted Naruto with a smile. She got up and gave him a hug before they both lay down on the bed. Naruto lay there, stroking her hair, not saying a word. Finally, he broke the silence and asked, "Where do you think I should go, Shiva-chan?" The woman wrapped her arm around him and pulled him closer. "I don't know, my Naruto-kun. Maybe you should seek out Zabuza-san and Haku-chan. They would probably let you stay with them, and you could learn a lot from Zabuza-san." Naruto considered her suggestion and replied, "Yes, I'll probably do that. I know at least they would accept me." She frowned at hearing this and said, "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, that you had to go through all this." Naruto saw the look on her face and pulled her even closer, saying, "It's not your fault, okay? You didn't realize what you were doing." She nodded and nestled into his chest. "Shiva, thank you." Naruto asked, "What?" Looking down at her. "I wanted to say thank you for always being there for me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made it," she replied with a smile. Naruto blushed slightly as she leaned down and gave him a soft kiss on his lips before saying, "Now go to sleep." The next morning, he packed up and set off towards where Zabuza had said they were staying for a while. It took him a few days, but he finally found the cabin where Zabuza and Haku were staying. He saw the beautiful form of Haku picking flowers near the front of the cabin and he smiled, running over to her. Unfortunately, he scared her, and she grabbed him, flipped him over, and drove a knee into his chest, holding him in place. "Who are you? What do you want?" She growled at him, not recognizing him because his hood was covering his face. "Haku-chan, it's me, Naruto," he gasped out. She gasped in response and jumped off him, sticking out her hand. Naruto shook his head and took her hand to stand up. She reached out, pulled down his hood, and gasped again, making Naruto laugh. She then frowned and removed the sunglasses Naruto had been wearing. "You shouldn't hide your eyes. They are so beautiful," she said, making him blush. He took the glasses from her, put them away, and smiled again. She squealed with joy and pulled him into a hug, saying, "Oh, I didn't think I'd see you again. How are you?" However, her expression soon turned serious, and she asked, "What happened? Why are you here?" Naruto frowned, saying, "Is Zabuza-san around?" "I'd rather not say this twice." She nodded and grabbed his hand, leading him inside. "Yes, he's making lunch," she replied. Naruto laughed. "Oh, this should be good. I didn't know the great Mamachi Zabuza demon of the Mist Class A Missing Nin was also a chef," Naruto said, laughing at the end, not able to hold it any longer. Zabuza whipped around and growled at the laughing boy, then his eyes widened when he saw who it was. "Naruto, is that you?" "Yeah, it's me. How you been?" Zabuza shook his head to clear it, and make sure he wasn't imagining things. He then laughed and motioned for him to sit. Naruto turned and sat next to Haku and waited for Zabuza to finish lunch. Once they finished eating, both Haku and Zabuza turned to him and looked at the blonde, waiting for an explanation. "I couldn't bear it anymore, the insults, the glares. It was just too much. My own friends hated me. I decided to take off. It was suggested that I seek you guys out." Zabuza looked at him suspiciously. "Who suggested it?" Naruto looked scared for a moment. "Should I tell them?" "Yes, if you're gonna stay with them, then they should know." "Alright then. Zabuza-san, do you know what a Jinchuriki is?" he asked him. Zabuza's eyes went wide at this and Haku looked confused. "Which one?" he simply said. "Shiva, the Ice Maiden. That's how I had control over the ice, and it's also how I went all crazy," He nodded in understanding. Naruto, I understand what you are and I know that you are not the demon but the demon container. If you wish to stay with us you are allowed. I want you to explain to Haku exactly what it is we've been talking about. Tomorrow I will inform you of our plans. He got up and left the room. Naruto turned to Haku and saw her glaring at him and he winced. Come on, let's go for a walk and I'll inform you on what it is we were talking about. He stuck out his hand which she took and left walking. After a while she stopped him and gave him a death glare. He sighed and pulled her to the ground where they sat and he explained everything, his life, Shiva, everything. It would be understatement to say she was in shock. Naruto calmly sat there and waited for her to hate him. So he was surprised when he felt two slim arms wrap around him and hug him hard. He looked up at her in shock. I don't care what you have in you. You are not the demon. You hold the demon and I will never hate you for that. Naruto smiled widely and hugged her hard, tears in his eyes. He quickly stood up and wiped his eyes out and gave Haku his hand. Come on, we need to go, it's getting late. She nodded and they walked back hand in hand. The next morning Naruto woke up to Zabuza screaming at him. Naruto jumped out of bed directly into a taijutsu technique looking for danger. Once he saw the laughing Zabuza and giggling Haku he relaxed and settled for glaring at them. Naruto shoved them out of the room and got dressed in the same clothes as yesterday. He walked down to find Zabuza and Haku sitting at the table talking about their plans. He took a seat and rested his head against Haku's shoulder. Zabuza raised an eyebrow at this but didn't say anything. Alright Naruto, what we decided to do is join the hidden village of the sound. I heard that they accept missing Nin. What will be is a genin team with me as your jonin instructor, he said. Naruto raised his head and looked around the room. Zabuza-sensei, if I'm not mistaken we need a team of 3 not 2 to enter the Chunin exams, he said feigning confusion. Zabuza growled at him. I know that, I figured we'd just have them assign us one or something. You never know, we may just pick someone up on the way, he said waving away Naruto's concern. Naruto nodded and got up. Okay, let's start training. Zabuza shook his head, also standing. No, first off, if you're gonna be on my team, you need to learn a weapon, so we'll be heading into Wave Country to pick up some supplies as well as show you something. This sent Haku into giggling and made a smirk to come across Zabuza's face. Naruto just shrugged and followed him and Haku. Just as they finished walking across the bridge and Naruto saw the sign, and it made him stop dead, Naruto's head whipping back to his new friends and the sign in shock. Then all of a sudden he fainted, causing his 2 friends to break out in laughter. Zabuza then picked him and headed over towards Tazuna's house. They knocked on the door and Tsunami showed and saw the boy in his arms and immediately worried. What happened to him, Zabuza-san? He saw the name of the bridge and fainted. She took a closer and giggled. Come on, bring him and lay him on the couch. As they laid him down they could hear him mumbling something, so they leaned down to listen. Must kill, crazy, drunk, bridge builder, bad name, they chuckled as they stood up. Haku couldn't help but giggle, saying, Tazuna-san better watch himself. Zabuza joined in the laughter, and Tsunami couldn't help but giggle too before walking out. A couple of hours later, Naruto entered the room. He looked around frantically until his eyes fell upon Tsunami. He quickly plopped into the seat next to her, fixing her with a pointed look and tapping his fingers on the table. She smiled at him nervously and greeted him. Hi Naruto. Hi to you too. Now, about that bridge I helped protect, anything you want to tell me? Naruto asked, leaning in. Tsunami grinned at him and raised her hand, saying, well, just relax, and I'll tell you. You showed this town that there were still heroes. So, after a unanimous decision, we named the bridge after you. Naruto groaned and looked over at Zabuza and Haku, worried about the attention he would get. This isn't good. How am I, a hero of Wave Country, supposed to go out and not be mobbed? He fretted. Seeing his concern, Zabuza reassured him, that's not good. Well, just wear your hood and put on your sunglasses, and we should be okay. We're only here to pick up some new clothes and a few weapons. After we get that, we'll be out of here. Naruto nodded and pulled his glasses on while covering his head with the hood, completely hiding his face. He then silently left the room after nodding to Tsunami, and Zabuza and Haku bid their farewells and followed him. Having gathered everything they needed, they set out to find a weapon for Naruto before they could leave. Naruto turned to Zabuza, curious about what kind of weapon would suit him best. But just as Zabuza was about to answer, a monkey suddenly appeared in front of them, handing Naruto a bag and disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto was perplexed, and he looked at the others, who were equally mystified. He opened the bag and found a note from an old man. Dear Naruto, I am aware you are not dead. Fear not, I will keep your secret. For now, all I ask of you is to train and become strong. Come back one day. Do this for an old man before he dies. In this bag are scrolls of different techniques, as well as some scrolls that your father left in my possession. They include his secret techniques and different sealing techniques. Use them wisely and become stronger than your father was. Oh, by the way, your father was the 4th Hokage, Uzumaki Erasure. Goodbye and good luck. The old man, the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Sandaime. Naruto was in shock as he read the note, and he picked up a random scroll that happened to be about sealing. An idea began to form in his mind. Excitedly, he explained his idea to Zabuza and Haku, who nodded in agreement. Naruto put the scroll away, and they quickly made their way to the weapons shop. At the shop, Naruto went straight to the swords to find the one that suited him. He glanced to his left, and saw Zabuza looking at a sword similar to his but bigger and more dangerous. The handle was white with blue markings on it, and the blade itself was pitch black. Naruto smiled and nodded, saying, That will be my new sword, and you can have this one, as he pointed to the sword on display and the one on his back. Naruto was surprised that Zabuza would give him the sword, but he simply nodded in gratitude. Naruto quickly found 2 katanas he liked, both with pitch-black blades and white handles featuring a black dragon design. They made their purchases and started walking back. However, Naruto suddenly froze, realizing there was something he needed to do before leaving. I can't leave yet, Naruto said abruptly. Haku inquired, Why not? If I came here and didn't go see Inari, he'd kill me. I'll meet you back at the house, Naruto explained before turning to leave. As he walked away, Zabuza called him back, taking his old sword off his back. I want you to start carrying this around so you can get used to it, Zabuza instructed. Naruto nodded and strapped it to his back. It was a struggle at first, but he managed to stand up with it after a few minutes of effort. Zabuza smirked, saying, You'll get used to it. Naruto nodded again and walked away toward Tazuna's home. After he was gone, Haku turned toward Zabuza, voicing her concern. Do you think he can handle that weapon? Zabuza replied confidently, He will, it'll just take time. We're going to have to change his appearance and name, though. People will want to use him because of what he has within him. Haku nodded, still worried, as they turned and began walking back home. Naruto, how are you? Do you have time to step in and talk? Naruto nodded and followed him in. Inside they found Tsunami talking to a gentleman around her age. Naruto frowned and gave him a hard look. They seemed to be very friendly with each other. With a grunt, Naruto sat across from the guy, his frown turning into a glare. Tsunami, who is this? He asked in a low voice. She smiled at him. This Naruto is my new boyfriend, Kano. She didn't notice the tension in the room. I see, how is Inari? She smiled at Kano before turning back to Naruto. He's great. He's at karate class right now. I'm about to go get him, she said. Naruto put his hand up. I'll go get him. I'll surprise him. She smiled and nodded, going back to her conversation. I'll walk you out, Tazuna said, standing up. He had a gleam in his eye that told Naruto there was an ulterior motive to this. As soon as they got to the door, Naruto turned to him and gave him a pointed look. I don't like him. Tazuna came right out and said, That makes 2 of us, Naruto said, agreeing with him. He started talking to her the day after I became mayor. I don't like it all. Naruto nodded, and thoughtful look on his face. I'll see what I can do. I'm gonna see what Inari can tell me about him as well. Tazuna looked confused at that. Naruto smirked. The things grown-ups will say when they don't notice a kid's in the room. Tazuna laughed, and they said their goodbyes. Naruto quickly made his way to the karate school. He walked in and saw a pretty girl sitting behind a counter looking completely bored. Naruto smirked. He was about to brighten up her day considerably. Hello, my name is Uzumaki Naruto and I'm looking for Inari, he politely asked. She perked up at the name, then narrowed her eyes in suspicion. How about you take off the cloak and glasses, just for confirmation? He smiled and nodded, pulling down the hood and taking for the glasses. Her eyes widened in shock. It's really you? He smiled and nodded. Could you show me the way to where Inari is? She nodded, still in shock, and motioned him to follow her. They stopped in front of a door with the number 313 on it. Thank you very much. He smiled at her lean and gave her a kiss on the cheek and walked in. He was pretty sure he heard a distinctive thump though. He shrugged it off and walked and leaned against the wall and watched the rest of the class. The teacher was the first to recognize who he was but continued the class. 10 minutes later he had everyone standing at attention. He then turned to me and asked for me to come to the front of the class. I had put my hood back on at this point. Class, I don't know why he's here, but we have a very special guest here today. May I introduce the hero of the Wave Country, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto laughed when he saw Inari's jaw drop while everyone else cheered. Immediately the hands went up. Naruto pointed to a girl Inari's age who he had noticed Inari kept glancing at. Are you really Inari's big brother, and could you tell us the story of what happened? She asked in quiet voice. Naruto smiled and pulled off the hood, and they all gasped at the shock that he wasn't that much older than they. Yeah, I'm his older brother. About the story, Inari tells it better, I hear so. Come on up here, Inari. Inari gasped but ran up and hugged Naruto. I missed you, big brother, he said, crying. I miss you too. You better stop crying or your girlfriend there's gonna think you're a crybaby. Naruto whispered, and immediately he stopped crying and growled at him. She's not my girlfriend, he vehemently stated, causing Naruto to laugh. Whatever you say, little bro, now tell them the story. A half hour later they were walking back towards his home when Naruto stopped him. He knelt down so he could look at him straight in the eye. I've met your mom's boyfriend, Inari immediately growled, confirming Naruto's suspicions that this guy wasn't good. What can you tell me? Your grandfather doesn't like him either, Inari growled louder. He's an asshole. I got him to tell me that the only reason he's with mom is to become rich and famous. You know, since she knows you and grandfather is mayor. Naruto frowned. Yeah, that's what we though as well. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this guy. Erase the plan. Inari listened attentively since he wanted to get rid of him. Later that night Naruto had decided to put the plan into effect. Hey Kano, help me with these dishes, since we're the guest and all. He narrowed his eyes but followed. As soon as they went in, Inari got up and slid a recorder under the door. Tsunami saw this and went to get, but just as she went to open the doors she heard their voices and decided to listen in. In the kitchen Naruto started the interrogation. So, Kano, why are you interested in Tsunami? I promise I won't say a word. Kano gauged him a moment before smirking. She wouldn't believe you anyway, she's so naive like that. Naruto held his anger and motioned for him to continue. Well, I figured that she knows you, the hero of Wave Country, and the fact that Pops over there is mayor, that I can get major recognition by making her mine. The guy was bent over in the fridge and didn't see Tsunami. Naruto did and mouthed, I'm sorry. She nodded, but you could see the tears in her eyes. Would you like me to get rid of him for yes, Tsunami? This caused Kano's head to snap up and stare in shock. Yes please, would you? Naruto nodded and grabbed. They shuddered at the screams that could be heard. Naruto walked back and immediately wrapped Tsunami in a hug. She let herself go and cried on his shoulder. The next morning he left and rushed back to the cabin knowing Haku was gonna kick his for staying over. So he was rushing through the forest and had almost made it when he came to a clearing and saw Haku and Zabuza surrounded by 10 ninjas. They looked like hunter Nin from the mist. He waved his hands and had ice spikes float behind the mist Nins. Unfortunately one of the Nins noticed them and called out. He was able to take out half their forces though. 3 attacked Zabuza, who killed 2 and trapped the last in his water prison technique. Haku finished the others off easily with her precise strikes. Naruto calmly walked with a small smile on his face. That disappeared as soon as he saw the look on Haku's face. He took a step back and smiled sheepishly. Where have you been? She practically snarled at him. Hee, I was at Tazuna's. I had to deal with something, so yes, sorry. Why don't we get some information from the guy? She glared at him a little more before turning to the man in the prison. Zabuza, release him, and 3 spikes of ice surrounded his neck in the shape of a triangle. Naruto walked over, keeping his hands up. Do you have any idea why they're coming after you now? I mean, haven't you been gone for a while? Zabuza nodded in agreement, glaring at their captive. So spit it out, why are you here? They shivered and immediately started talking. The new leader of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. He wants you and Kisame dead. This causes Zabuza to frown. What do we do with him? Zabuza asks, looking at us. Haku shrugs while a thoughtful look comes across Naruto's face. What's your name, and don't lie. I wouldn't want to slip. Sato Ikuna. Alright, Ikuna, you have 2 choices. One is to give up everything you know about the 7 swordsmen of the mist, and tell your leader that Zabuza died in an avalanche, or something. Or 2, we kill you right now. Oh, if you lie or go back and tell him he didn't die, I'll find you and wipe out your entire clan. Got it? Naruto said menacingly. I'll tell you everything I know, Ikuna replied nervously. Good choice, Naruto said with a smile. The leader's name is Inomai. She wields a sword just like yours. She's about 5 feet 8 inches, has dark red hair, Ikuna began. Zabuza cut him off, saying, Yeah, I know everything about her. Keep going. Give names, and I'll tell you which I know and which I need information on. Got it? Ikuna nodded and continued. Their names are Leno Tai, Wami Jin, Neko Rao, Teiko Sai, Sasaki Ne, and they welcome back Rain. He's the only original member. Zabuza nodded and waved to let Ikuna go. Naruto released the ice spikes that were holding him captive. Remember what I told you, Ikuna, Naruto warned as the man ran off. Naruto and Haku then turned to Zabuza, awaiting the news. Well, the good news is I know all about every member of them. The bad news is I helped train them, so they're good. This means more training, especially if Mai's leading them, Zabuza said in a grave tone. Did something happen between you two? Naruto asked. Zabuza nodded and said she's my ex. I trained her personally. If we fight them, she'll be the hardest. Naruto agreed yup, before shaking his head to clear his thoughts. Okay, let's go set up your swords and stuff and start training. In 6 months we head to Sound. So let's get to work, Naruto. I want 1,000 strikes up, left, right, down, diagonally left to right, and diagonally right to left. No chakra. This will help improve your strength. 2 months later, Naruto had grown a couple of inches and could effortlessly wield both his katanas and his zanbatsu. His mastery over ice was improving, and he had learned a variety of techniques. Thanks to scrolls provided by Sandaime, Naruto had honed his skills, acquiring 2 jutsu from each chakra type, ranging from earth to lightning. One day, Zabuza approached Naruto with important news. Naruto, I found out that the Akatsuki are planning to attack a Jinchuriki very soon. I thought you could go help protect her and possibly have her join us here. Her name is Yujito, and she's blonde with green eyes. She's also very strong. Regardless of how it goes there, I want you to stop at Yukigekure. I have a friend there who can teach you some ice techniques. Be back here with or without the Jinchuriki in 3 months. Do you understand? Follow me for now. When they entered the house, Naruto noticed Haku had an assortment of hair products on the table. What's all this? He asked. Haku looked up with a grin, but before he could react, Zabuza knocked Naruto out from behind. Naruto regained consciousness a couple of hours later, sensing that something was different. Ignoring the strange feeling, he contemplated ways to get back at Zabuza until he looked in the mirror. His blonde hair was gone, dyed pitch black, and his appearance had changed significantly. He tied his new hair into a ponytail, used a seal on his wrist to summon his katanas, and made his way downstairs, searching for Zabuza and Haku. Finding them outside practicing their taijutsu, Naruto smirked and walked up to them, causing them to nervously step back. Naruto questioned them. Okay, who wants to fight me first? Haku tried to reason with him. Naruto, your look is too recognizable. The Akatsuki are looking for you, Hunternines are looking for you, and the 7 swordsmen of the mist may be looking for you. It's too risky for you to use your name and appearance as they are. Understand? Naruto paused, considering the implications. So, what's my name gonna be? We decided that you would go by Hiroshi, or Hiro for short, Haku explained. It means generous, which is the type of guy you are. Naruto accepted his new identity, asking, Alright, I can go by that. What about my last name? We thought you could just use my surname, Zabuza suggested. Naruto decided, Mamachi Hiro, smiling at the choice. Alright, I like it, he continued. When I get back, you'll get my punishment. I have to go pack for my trip. After nodding, Naruto went to prepare for his journey. He came back ready with nothing but the essentials, prepared to practice his survival training during his absence. When he appeared before Zabuza and Haku, ready to depart, they had one last piece of advice for him. Remember, Hiroshi, your journey is crucial, Haku said, her expression serious. Zabuza added, stay safe, and don't draw unnecessary attention to yourself. With those words of wisdom, Naruto embarked on his mission, prepared to face new challenges under his new identity as Hiroshi. Naruto nodded and they walked off, They just talked about meaningless things until they got far enough and he stopped. Be careful please. You are one of my precious people and I couldn't bear to lose you. Haku, you and Zabuza are the most important people to me. I promise I'll be careful. He then pulled her in a hug and after a while they pulled away, but just before she ran she did something that shocked Naruto. She leaned over and kissed him on the cheek, then ran off saying goodbye Hirokun. Naruto stood there dazed for a moment before jumping up a tree and running through the forest. He ran all day and most of the night until he decided to stop for the night. He had just been about to fall asleep when he heard a scream break through the forest. He jumped and grabbed the back of the handle of his Zanbatsu, which he now called Yuki-ryo, which means snow dragon in Japanese. He found a group of drunk men dragging a girl that looked about his age, give or take a year. He decided to watch and follow first. They finally came to a clearing and one of the guys collapsed. Naruto shook his head. These drunks weren't worth using his sword on. In fact, they weren't worth fighting himself. Naruto smirked, did a seal, and quietly whispered Kagebushin no Jutsu. 5 clones appeared next to him. Alright, you guys distract them while I get the girl. They nodded and got to work. Naruto jumped from tree to tree until he was right above her, used some chakra to stick his feet to a branch, and leaned and stuck his arms out to the girl. She didn't move at first, she was clearly too scared. I promise I won't hurt you, just jump into my arms and I'll bring you to safety. After another minute she jumped into my arms and held on tight. He swung them up and jumped from tree to tree until they made it back to the campsite, where he put her down in front of the fire. She got up and bowed and gave him a grateful smile. Thank you so much. Naruto gave her a small smile and pulled down his hood. She gave a small gasp seeing how young he was. You're not much older than I am. He gave a small laugh. No, probably not, but I am a shinobi, so I could have easily taken those guys. She nodded. My village is not far from here. Yeah, but it's not a good idea to travel at night, so get some sleep and we start off first thing in the morning. Is that alright? Yeah, but I'm sleeping right next to you. Oh, and can I have your name? I'm Haruna. I'm Naruto. He then laid down and went to sleep. She got up and curled up into him and also fell asleep. Naruto wakes the next morning to find something warm on his chest. He looks up to see Haruna sleeping. Naruto tries to think of a way out of this and decides to just wake her up. He shakes her a bit, and she slowly opens her eyes. She sees Naruto looking back at her, then down at herself, and screams, jumping up. She backs away very quickly, blushing. I am sorry. Hey, it's alright, I'm not one to complain about a pretty girl falling asleep on me. This causes her to blush even more. Naruto laughs and straps his sword onto his back again. As they start walking back, she turns and looks at him curiously. Why did you help me? She asks, and Naruto looks at her like she's grown a second head. You needed help, so I help. Every human person is precious until they do something that shows they don't deserve help. She nodded. They continue walking, just talking and getting to know each other a bit better. Soon enough they get to the beginning of the country she lives in. She stops before they get there. There is something I need to tell you. He nods and waits for her to continue. I'm the feudal lord's daughter. Naruto looks at her and blinks. So what exactly does that make you then? She laughs at his dumbfounded expression. I'm a princess, Naruto. He blinks again. Well, I guess we should get you back then, eh? She nods and they continue walking. Just as they're at the entrance, Naruto holds her up. Hold on. You probably pretty recognizable, right? She nods, not exactly sure what he is getting at. Well, it'll be easier to get you to your home if you're disguised. So I want you to take my cloak and cover your face. She takes the cloak and covers her face, now understanding at what he is getting at. They start walking through the village when Naruto notices a clothing store that sells some cloaks that he likes. Hey, do you mind if I go in and get a couple things? She leans and see what he's looking at and nods. I'll come with you. Naruto nods and they go in. Just as they walk, Naruto remembers something. He pulls her to a corner of the store. What did I tell you my name was? She looks confused but answers anyway. Naruto. Damn. Look, I need you to do me a huge favor, okay? After she nods, he continues. There are people who want to find me and can't have them find me. It wouldn't be good. She gasps and backs away. Are you a missing mean? Naruto laughs nervously. Sort of. At my old village I wasn't very like. They aren't the only ones after me though. Who's after you? I can't tell you here. Once we get to a secure location I'll tell you what you need to know, alright? Oh, and if anyone asks, my name is Mamachi Hiro. She nodded and they walked over to the cloaks. Naruto picked out a white one with red flames at the bottom that looked like they were climbing up the cloak. There was also a kanji for ice on the back. He then grabbed a blue one with white flames at the bottom that had a kanji for snow on the back. He both and wore the white with red flames one out. What do those symbols mean? She asked as soon as they were on their way. The one I'm wearing now means ice, the other means snow. Why ice and snow? He smiles at her, sticks out his hand, and slowly the top of a rose forms made of complete ice. He then hands it to her. She looks down on it in shock. It's weird like that. I can make weapons out of ice like can I? And sure it can easily, but when it comes to flour or something similar I have trouble. She laughed lightly. Why don't you try again? He nodded and held out his left hand and had his right hand raised above it. He continued to work on it all the way until they got to her complex. He finally stopped and sighed. He was missing half a stem. It was close, she giggled, and they walked up to a guard. Please state your business, the ninja said. Haruna pulled the hood and the nin stood at attention, as did everyone around them. I wish I had that kind of respect, she giggled and slapped him lightly on the arm. Shut up, hero. Princess, you are to wait her until Uriinoju and Kurinoju show up, she sighed and nodded. A few minutes later, in swirl of flowers, two ninjas that looked like they were brothers showed up. They ran over to Haruna and bowed. This made Naruto laugh again and Haruna scowl. Haruna-sama, who is this? My savior. When I was kidnapped by those drunks he came and saved me. His name is Mamachi Hiroshi. They turned and bowed to him, but Haruna's scowl kept him from commenting. Your father wants to see you. She nodded and grabbed Naruto's hand and dragged him in front of her father. When they got there she let go of his hand and ran to her father and hugged him. Naruto decided to go lean against the wall and not interrupt. Once they had broken, she backed up and looked around the room and found Naruto leaning against the wall. She glared at him, and he was immediately at her side, scared of what she might do. Father, this boy saved me. His name is Mamachi Hiroshi, or Hiro for short. Naruto bowed to him. Take off your hood, you brat. Naruto chuckled and lowered his hood. Like before, they were surprised that he was that young, but they quickly got over their shock. Her father stood up and bowed to him. Thank you so much for saving my daughter. If there is anything I can do for you, just say it. Do your ninjas specialize in anything here? Curious as to the appearance of the two ninjas beside him. We specialize in flower techniques. We also have a ninja who joined our ranks who specializes in shadow techniques. This perked Naruto interest more so than the flower techniques. Well, I can only stay 2 weeks. Could you do this the first week I'm here? Teach me flower jutsu, and the second week shadow jutsus? The flowers, yes, but the shadow, you would have to ask the man himself. Nara Senka, will you teach him? He seemed to ask the air. Everyone jumped when a shadow came out of the floor and a man appeared. If he tells me his true name, then yes, I'll teach him, the Senka asked. Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. As long as it doesn't leave this room, they all nodded. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I thought so. Have you unlocked your bloodline yet? I wasn't aware I had one. You do. It's one of the more stronger ones out there. It allows you to copy techniques and use any jutsu without hand seals. That is, once you've done the jutsu at least once. Naruto nodded. The man then melted into the shadows again and reappeared next Naruto with a strand on Naruto's hair in his fingers. The Uzumaki clan always have blonde hair, yet yours are black, Naruto growled, surprising everyone in the room. It wasn't of my damn choice. Zabuza and Haku knocked me out. Then this, the demon of the mist? Yes, he's my sensei. He thought I would be less noticeable without my blonde hair. He thought right. I want him the first week. I want to unlock his bloodline, the feudal lord declared. Senka nodded and melted into the shadows, disappearing from sight. The feudal lord turned to Haruna and said, Haruna, show him to his room unless... Haruna interrupted, shut up. Come on, hero. Naruto nodded and followed her, a bit confused. What was that about? Naruto asked. He was asking if you were staying with me, Haruna replied. He didn't think that we would, so he used it to get you mad, right? Naruto guessed. Haruna grinned. Okay, but no touching unless I allow it, got it? Yes, ma'am. Naruto saluted and then playfully ran off when Haruna started chasing him. The next 2 weeks passed quickly, and Naruto had a great time. He had grown very close to Haruna, and by the end of the 2 weeks, they were inseparable. With Senka's help, he managed to unlock his bloodline, causing his eyes to glow an icy blue. He named his bloodline Aoi, which meant ice. Naruto also learned various shadow and flower techniques, and his swordsmanship improved significantly with the practice he received from Haruna's bodyguards. As the 2 weeks came to an end, Naruto prepared to say goodbye. He walked into Haruna's room, where he found her staring out the window. Haruna, Naruto said, drawing her attention. You're here to say goodbye, she smiled sadly as she felt his arms wrap around her from behind. Don't worry, I promise to be back, Naruto reassured her. She turned around and wrapped her arms around his neck. You better or else, she replied playfully. Naruto nodded vigorously. Before parting, Naruto asked her to do something for him. She eagerly agreed to his request. I want you to train to be able to protect yourself. Senka also has the summoning contract for eagles. I want you to sign it so you can send me a message if you ever need help. I'll get to you as soon as I can. Can you do that for me? Naruto requested. Haruna nodded and pulled him closer, crying on his chest. After a while, Naruto realized he had to leave. He gently pulled away from her and said his goodbyes. They shared one last heartfelt kiss before Naruto departed, leaving Haruna behind. Once outside, Naruto contemplated the journey ahead. He promised himself he would return and see Haruna again soon. Inside his mind, Shiva expressed her jealousy, but Naruto reassured her of his love. They had an understanding, and Naruto knew he would return to her. As Naruto reached the edge of town, a shadow emerged from the ground and took the form of Nara Senka. They walked together for a while. Where are you headed? Senka asked. Cloud, then snow. There's a Jinchuriki in snow who's about to be targeted by the Akatsuki. I need to help her, Naruto explained. Senka nodded and then paused. While you're in Cloud, I want you to look up someone. Naruto stopped and listened attentively, waiting for Senka to continue. I have a friend there who owes me a favor. He also holds the summoning contract for the Falcon, Senka revealed. Naruto's face lit up at the mention of the Falcon contract. Thought you'd like that. Good luck, Naruto-san. Goodbye, Senka-sensei. Naruto bid farewell to his mentor. Senka melted into the shadows once more, leaving Naruto to continue his journey alone. Naruto then headed toward Kumogakure, the hidden cloud village. He reached Kumogakure and, after a brief conversation, was allowed entry. Naruto found a hotel to stay in and decided to get some rest. He promised himself he would search for Yujito the next day. The following morning, Naruto awoke and, after a stroll through town, discovered a ramen stand. He ordered 5 bowls of ramen and began enjoying his meal. As he ate, a pretty girl with blonde hair and green eyes sat down across from him. Yujito? Naruto asked, curious about her appearance. She nodded in acknowledgement. Naruto paused his eating and looked at her more closely. Come on, he said, rising from his seat. Yujito followed him, and they arrived at a training area. I'm Mamachi Hiroshi, but call me Hiro. I'm the host of Shiva, Naruto introduced himself. I'm Yujito, and I'm the host of Nibi, she replied. What are you doing here? You're in danger, Naruto stated. Yujito nodded in agreement. You can say that again. Suddenly, a voice from behind them spoke. Oh, this is good. 2 demons for the price of 1. Come on. Naruto recognized the voice immediately, and Shiva confirmed his suspicion. The man who summoned them was wearing that, Shiva observed. Naruto growled in anger. So, you're the ones who tried to destroy Konoha and get Shiva sealed in me. This is a perfect opportunity, one of the men said. Naruto smirked. Yeah, it is. Just then, he grabbed Yujito and activated his shadow clone jutsu, disappearing into the shadows. Nara Senka said he would let me sign it. The Reikage looked surprised at this. He then went in his drawer and pulled out a contract. There you go. Naruto smiled and quickly signed it and left. He then spent the next 40 minutes proving to the boss he was worth it. He made it back to his hotel room just in time. He shifted into the room the same time as Yujito. She had 2 daggers attached to her shins, and 2 katanas at to each side of her hips. Are you ready? She nodded and he grabbed her, melting them into the shadows and outside of the city. They then jumped into the trees and continued onward until night. That night he explained everything he could from his real name to Akatsuki. He told her everything. So where are we going now? We're headed to the village of the snow. There's supposed to be a friend of Zabuza's there that will teach me some ice jutsus. She nodded and then went to sleep as he was taking the first watch. The rest of the way to Yukigekyo took about 2 weeks, and to their relief there was no sign of Akatsuki following them. Unfortunately for them, what they found at Yukigekyo was not what they were expecting. The gate to the city was blown and there was no guards or anything. They looked at each other and put on an invisibility jutsu. What they found city was just as bad. The house and stores were smashed and some were burnt to the ground, When they go there found some nins fighting each other. They were now able to see what was going on. Yukigekyo was in the middle of a civil war. They ran into an alley and took off the jutsu. So what do you think? We need to find the princess and find out what was going on. Naruto nodded and followed her out of the alley. A/N. I never saw the movie. They quickly make it where they had thought the princess had been residing, but once they get there they found a battle going on. That's Princess Yuki, Yujito points out. Naruto looks over and sees her and one guy surrounded by 10 men. He immediately rushes and cutting people up with Yuki Ryu. Soon enough, with the combined forces of the 4 of them, they are able to take them down. The princess walk over them and bows low. Thank you for your help, but it's not safe here, we need to move. Naruto and Yujito nod and follow her to an underground base where Naruto sees many snow ninjas are training. They come to a room and follow the princess, and there's a table with 4 chairs around it. So who are you and why are you here? My name is Mamachi Hiroshi and my sensei Mamachi Zabuza sent me here to learn ice jutsus from a friend of his. All 3 saw the man with her look up at the mention of Zabuza. I'm guessing he was talking about you, he nods. I'm Noah, ice jutsu specialist and ANBU captain. My information said that he died. No, we supplied that information. Looks like you could use some help here. We can use all the help we can get. Have you tried to get some help from the Leaf yet? They shook their heads. Zabuza's gonna kill me for this, but I should be able to get a team from them as well as Greenery Country. I'm also gonna send a letter to Zabuza himself. They both had grateful smiles on their faces. Naruto frowned though. That doesn't mean they'll come though. I said I'd try. Okay. Yujito, I need you to stay here, so if Zabuza or the team from Greenery shows you're here to receive them, I'm gonna head to Konoha. They nodded and Naruto summoned a falcon. He then gave him 3 letters. Before I go though, I'd like to have at least one battle. Yuki nodded and went and took out a folder. I have a team who is down 1 man. They are going on a hostage retrieval mission. You okay with that? Naruto saw Yujito about to say something. Yujito, you should stay here and start teaching people your lighting jutsu. They will be of valuable help in upcoming battles. Noah then stood up and told Naruto to follow him. He led them to a room and they walked and saw 2 women sparring against an older man, but as soon as Noah walked in they stood at attention. This is Mamachi Hiroshi. He is your new teammate for your next mission. Naruto had his hood back on so they couldn't see his face. Is he any good? Let's find out. Kyra and Lien spar against him. They nodded and gotten into defensive position, while Naruto took of his sword and stood in front of the girls, his hands by his side. Immediately the 2 girls came at him. Kyra started off with a punch to the head while Lien went for a kick to his midsection. Just as they were about to connect, a shield of ice rose in front of him and blocked both attacks. The 2 girls jumped back in shock because he had never moved his hands. What the hell? Kyra yelled. I have complete mastery over the ice. I'm also pretty good with a sword and have a good amount of jutsu under my belt. Oh, and I can do this. He then shifted into the ground and came behind the girls, his katanas out and at their necks. So am I good enough? Why yes, they both said. Their swords disappeared and he was in front of them again. Smiling, he bowed to them. So who wants to show me to my room? Both girls yelled that they would at the same time. Naruto chuckled and said that they both could show him. The next night Naruto and Lane were in position on one side of the building containing the hostages. Kyra and Sal were on the other. They were waiting for the guard changing. As soon as the guard changed, Naruto grabbed Lien and shifted them behind the new guards and took them out. They basically killed their way until they were right outside the door. Okay, this is the plan, Hiro. You grab the hostages and get them back to the team waiting outside. They nodded and charged into the room and were shocked to find it empty. That was until they heard laughing from behind. They turned to find Sal standing there with a sinister smirk on his face. Why are you doing this? Kyra screamed as she watched ninjas come out of the shadows and surround them. Just as Naruto was about to grab them, a bright light appeared and got rid of any shadows. This made the smirk on Sal's face widen only to disappear when he saw the smile on Naruto's face. You really are a fool. I promise you, Sal, before this is over I will kill you. He then grabbed and melted into the floor. They appeared well outside of the building. How did you do that? There were no shadows. Calm down, calm down. I'm able to create my own shadows. I'm pretty much not able to be captured. Their jaws dropped in shock. Now's not the time. Get back to Yuki-sama and tell her about the betrayal. Also tell her I've gone on my mission as well. They nodded and he shifted into the shadows. As soon as he was gone, they jumped onto the roofs and made it quickly back to the base. Naruto, on the other hand, had appeared outside the city and started towards Konoha. the place he didn't think he would be headed for a long time. He shook his head to clear it, and kept going. He knew he didn't have much time. In Konoha, the Sandaime was doing paperwork once again when a black falcon flew into his office and dropped a scroll and poofed out of existence. He opened the scroll and went wide-eyed. It was from Naruto. Hey old man, I bet you didn't think you would be hearing from me anytime soon. Well, to tell you the truth, neither did I, but a village is in dire need of my and your help. The village is Yukigekure, the Snow Village. They're going to be able to help me control my powers, but before they can do that they need to stop their civil war that they have going on. I'm not asking for major help, I know you can't give it. All I'm asking is a couple of teams. I'm on my to Konoha now. I should arrive a few hours after this letter. I beg of you, Sandaime-sama, lend me this help. Yours truly, Uzumaki Naruto. The Sandaime just sat there in shock before going through his head on who he could send. He couldn't send any NBU or Jonin team. He could send Team 7 with Team Guy. That's 2 Jonin and 5 talented genin. It was the best he could do. He sighed and sent word for the said ninjas to arrive in his office. 3 hours later the 2 teams were in the Hokage's office. They were looking at him confused as to why they were there. Finally Guy couldn't take it anymore. Hokage-sama, why are we here? You are here for an A-rank mission. He held up his hand to forestall the question. I do not believe there will be much fighting, but I need you to go anyways. You are correct, Sandaime-sama. Kakashi and Guy will probably be the only ones fighting, a voice from the corner of the room said. He then walked over to stand in front of the Hokage. He bowed deeply before standing up, smiling underneath his hood. The people in the room had many different expressions. Sasuke wanted to fight him. Sakura wondered what he looked like. Guy and Lee wondered about his flames of youth. Neji didn't care. Tenten was in love with his sword. Kakashi had a feeling of familiarity with the boy. The boy then turned around and groaned. You had to give me Team 7. I hate you, old man. This angered both Sakura and Sasuke. What's your problem? Sakura yelled. Naruto just pulled down his hood and stared at them, making Team 7 take a step back. What do you think? Alright, right now Yukigekure is undergoing a civil war. We're going in to give them support. I have a team coming in from Greenery as well. Meet me at the gates in 2 hours. He then turned and glared at Kakashi. Do not be late. He then melted into the shadows and was gone. He then reappeared behind them. You 5 bring a sword, me and Tenten will be teaching you how to use it on the way, understood? They all nodded and he disappeared again. 2 hours later they showed up at the gates. Even Kakashi was there on time. He looked around and nodded, happy that they had all brought a katana with them. Let's go. They followed him. They jumped from tree to tree all day until it wasn't light anymore. We'll train till midday tomorrow, then be on the move again. I'll take the first watch. He then jumped into a tree to relax. 1 hour later he felt a presence next to him. He turned to see Tenten sitting next to him. Hello Naruto. I see you have a big sword. She then turned away blushing. Naruto started laughing. I know what you mean. So how good are you with the katana? She smiled at the change of conversation. I'm pretty good yourself. Naruto smiled at her and undid the seals, making his dual katanas appear. He laughed at her look of awe. You so have to do that for me, please? She begged, latching onto his arm and giving him the puppy dog eye look. Yes, sure. When get back to Konoha I will. You have to get a better katana than the one you have, and I know your parents have better ones. She nodded, smiling. Go get some rest, Tenchan. We have a long training session to go, and traveling to go. She leaned in and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Is that cause of my big sword or cause you like me? She jumped away fast, blushing the whole time. Naruto just continued laughing. 4 days later they were about 2 miles outside of Yukigekure. Everybody but Sakura were now able to use their katanas reasonably well. Naruto still avoided talking to Team 7 but had gotten closer to Lee and Tenten. He had even been able to get Lee to act more relaxed when around him. He was at the present moment working on his ice skills. He smiled up at his friends, the smile back when they saw he had finally been able to make a full rose. Now I just have to figure out how to keep it together all the time. He was about to continue when Sasuke walked up to him and glared at him. Naruto almost lazily looks up at him. Yes, Sasuke team. Sasuke growled at the insult. Fight me. In what? Anything goes. Okay, but if I win you have to go on a date with Sakura. Sasuke looks over at Sakura and shudders but steels himself, knowing he won't lose. Okay, this should be fun. He gets up and Tenten and Lee follow. The rest of the group looks over and follows, wanting to see what's going on. 200 Ryu, that Naruto's flames of youth kicks ass, Lee boasts. Please, I'll take that bet, putting 200 on Sasuke. Sakura boasts, still thinking that Naruto is the dead last she used to know. 200 on Naruto, Tenten says, 200 on Sasuke. Kakashi tells Lee, Guy and Neji stayed out of it. Sasuke got into a taijutsu stance while Naruto just raised an eyebrow waiting for him to begin. He quickly did seals and yelled something out and multiple fireballs came out of his mouth. Naruto smiled and his eyes glowed a deep icy blue. Lee and Tenten smirked due to knowing about his bloodline. Without moving an inch, his arms still crossed. A wall erupted from the ground blocking the attack. Sasuke glared at him and came flying at him. Kicks and punched coming at him, but Naruto just stood there as blocks of ice came and blocked each one. Soon enough, a panting Sasuke stood there glaring at him. Are you done? He just kept on glaring. No, okay, then I guess it's my turn. Naruto raised his arm and 5 balls of ice hovered in front of him. He then closed his fist and sent them after Sasuke. He was able to dodge them but didn't see them turn into shadow clones behind him. Look behind you. Sasuke whipped around and started fighting off the clones while Naruto calmly took his Yuki-Ryo off his back and walked up to Sasuke. After destroying the clones, he turned to attack Naruto, only to feel steel against his neck. Do you give? Yes. Good. Naruto then out his weapon away and walked up to Lee and Tenten, who were collect the money. Tenten, Lee, I'll be getting a share of that, correct? Yes, Naruto, they said in perfect unison. Okay, we need to move. Just as they were about to, a swirl of flowers and a man appeared. Naruto turned around and smiled when he saw him. Hiro-san, we have trouble. He looked worried. Yuri-Inuju-san, what do you mean trouble? Naruto asked just as worried. The enemy has just staged a full-scale assault. We are waiting new orders. Is Senka there? He nodded. Okay, show us the way to your camp. He nodded and jumped into the tress with everyone following behind him. They showed up to find Senka surrounded by 9 other men. Naruto walks over to Senka and bows. Are you ready? Senka asks. Hi. They slowly make their way to the city. What they find is not what they were expecting. There were ninjas everywhere, and from first glance the snow Nins were losing. Not very good, is it, kid? Naruto looks up to see Zabuza and Haku in the trees all dressed for battle. Naruto grins at them. Well, that's only cause we're not there yet. You already. Hi. Naruto smiles and runs into the city. Zabuza on his left, Lee on his right. Naruto was running through the city trying to find Yujito and Yuki. He finds them once again surrounded by Nins, but this time they seem to be able to take of themselves. He walks over to them just as Yujito takes out the last ones. Having fun yet? They grin at him and ran at some more. Naruto went to follow them only to stop when he heard a familiar yet unwelcome voice. Your fight is with me. Naruto turns and gets into position. Let's go. They battle starts off with them trading jutsus. Heather seems to be gaining ground when Naruto misses the kunai with the explosive tag and get blown back into a tree. He's able to get up back into the fight. He pulls out his katanas and charges at him. It's a fierce battle until Naruto is able to stab his side, making fall to his knees. He steps back for a moment to take a breath. I told you I'd kill you. Naruto then swings and slices his head off. He doesn't have much time when he hears a familiar scream. He turns to see Lien and Kyra on the ground and Tenten trying to battle off 2 ninjas twice her skill. Naruto's eyes turn blue and sends 2 fire dragon flame missiles at them, but all it does is send them back to the ground. It gives Naruto and Lee time to get over there. Tenten, Lee, take that one. I'll get this guy. Naruto's opponent gets up and sends a volley of kunai at him only to be blocked by an ice wall, but what Naruto didn't notice was the explosive tags on them, which shatters the wall, sending Naruto flying. Naruto gets up angry and sends 20 ice spikes at him, and uses his shadow shift to get behind him and finish him with his Yuki-Ryo, also taking off his head. Naruto turns to watch to see Tenten and Lee finish off their guy in a similar manner. It didn't take long for the battle to finish up afterwards with the combined might of Zabuza, Noah, Senka, and Kakashi, taking out the leader. The Leaf Nins stayed for a couple weeks after to help them get back on their feet, but then they left. 2 weeks after that, Naruto and his friends left as well so they could finish their training as well. By the time the 6 months were up, Naruto had finished his training with Zabuza and he had become extremely good with his sword. He had also learned most of the techniques that Sarutobi had sent him. Only his father's techniques were left, and he couldn't learn them until he met a man named Jiraiya the super pervert. Naruto didn't understand what his father had meant by that but decided to push those thoughts away until he met the man. Naruto got from where he had been meditating and went to find Haku and Zabuza. He found them in the kitchen of their home with oddly serious looks on their faces. Naruto also became serious when he saw this. What's going on, guys? Zabuza looked up at him. He told him to take a seat and gave him a stern look. Tomorrow we join the Sound. Naruto nodded and went up to bed, for he knew tomorrow was the start of his time in a different village. Naruto sighed and climbed into bed, wondering about what tomorrow would bring. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he felt someone climb into bed with him. He saw that it was Haku and could tell she was scared. Naruto sighed and held her closer until she was calm again. "What's wrong?" She looked up at him. "I'm scared about tomorrow." Naruto smiled reassuringly at her. "Don't worry, no matter what happens, the four of us will take it on head first. So don't worry, okay?" She nodded and cuddled closer to him. "Can I stay here tonight?" she asked. "Whenever you need to." She smiled and fell asleep with Naruto close behind. They woke up early and packed everything they needed. Just before they headed out, Zabuza told them to wait. "About halfway there, a genin team is supposed to meet us and show us the rest of the way." "Understood." Once everyone said they understood, he grinned. "And Naruto remembered you are going under the name Mamachi Hiroshi." "Got it." Naruto rolled his eyes at him. "Yes, I got it. You told me a million times. Besides, I've going by the name for months now. I think I've got it." Zabuza nodded, and they started walking towards their destination. About after 2 days of traveling, 3 nins jumped down from the trees. Naruto noticed the 3-1 boy was wrapped up in bandages and seemed to be the leader. The other boy had some camouflage clothes on. The last was a pretty girl about his age with camouflage clothes on as well. All 3 had Hideate with a musical note on it. The 2 boys sneered at Haku and Naruto, while the girl just looked indifferent about the whole ordeal. "Who are you? You don't look strong enough to be a sound nin?" the bandaged one asked Haku and Naruto. Naruto looked at him lazily. Naruto replied, "Answer your own question first." Haku gazed at the sky, seemingly ignoring the entire conversation. "I'm Dosu, the leader of this team." "He's Zaku, and the girl over there is Kin." Dosu introduced his team. Kin growled but didn't take any further action. "Now, who are you?" Dosu inquired. Naruto sighed and responded, "I'm Mamachi Hiroshi, and this is Haku, soon to be a genin of the sound." Upon hearing this, the boys burst into laughter, while the girl appeared more interested. Naruto hoped that he might finally have some teammates who would respect him. The boys, in addition, weren't bad looking, so he decided to see how things would play out. Ignoring Naruto and Haku, the 2 sound nins continued laughing until they finally stopped. Naruto and Haku stared at them, waiting for an explanation. "What's so funny?" Naruto asked, his patience wearing thin. The boys seemed to have recovered their composure. Zaku said, "You'll see. You'll see. Come on, let's get moving." Naruto and Haku were growing increasingly frustrated by the lack of information. As they continued traveling, the dark-haired girl somehow ended up near Naruto, who was keeping an eye on their surroundings. She glanced over at him and smirked. "Do you want to know what they were laughing about?" she inquired. Naruto tried to appear nonchalant but was genuinely curious, so he agreed. "I'll tell you, but you have to promise me something after I do." Naruto waited for her to continue. "When you're as young as we are, Otogekure only accepts the best. That's why we have only one team. At the academy, they place us on teams early, and that's when we start with the pathetic D-rank missions. After graduation, they organize a tournament for all the teams. The catch is that the only way to advance to the next round is by killing the opposing team," she explained, pausing for dramatic effect. Naruto absorbed all of this and sensed where she was heading. He gave her the go-ahead to continue. "Our team won the tournament, of course. However, there's also a tournament for the Jonin instructors. So whenever a new genin tries to join the sound, they have to face us. So far, none have been able to beat us. But we've had 3 different instructors," she elaborated further. Naruto's face shifted from passive to a sinister smirk. "Let me see if I understand. In order for us to become genin, both Haku and I have to defeat 2 of you, right?" She nodded. "What do you want me to promise?" she asked, grinning. Naruto responded with confidence, "Oh, you have no doubt about that. No one mocks me like that and gets away with it. So tell me about this Jonin instructor of yours." She snorted. "Overall, he's better than the last 2 in terms of skills. But as for teaching, well, you need to be a guy to learn anything from him." Naruto frowned at this revelation. "Well, I guess it's a good thing that Zabuza will be our new sensei," he remarked. The girl grinned. "Yes, it is. I've had to train myself for the last 2 months. Naruto looked concerned and said, "You'll need to choose a weapon. Zabuza is a specialist in weaponry. Any ninjutsu or genjutsu you learn will either be taught by me or from my scrolls. Unless, of course, he decides to teach you his Suiton or mist techniques. She nodded and glanced at the sword on Naruto's back. I don't think I'll be able to handle a sword like that. Zabuza snorted and pointed out, she's not suited for that type of weapon. I'd suggest twin wakizashi. Naruto agreed, yes, you're not suited for this type of weapon. Twin wakizashi would be a better choice. A grunt of agreement from Zabuza confirmed the choice. The girl, satisfied with their advice, seemed to take an interest in Naruto's weapons. So, does he talk, or does he just make noises to communicate? She asked, referring to Zabuza. Naruto chuckled and assured her, yes, he talks. He's just trying to be the silent type and act tough. Upon reaching Otogakure, they stood in front of Otokage Orochimaru. The Otokage observed them before speaking. You wish to join the sound. What are your ranks? Orochimaru inquired. Zabuza took the lead, stating, 2 Jonin and 2 Genin. He pointed out who was who. The Otokage nodded and leaned forward. Are any of you Jonin attempting to become instructors? Zabuza stepped forward, answering, I am. Orochimaru turned his attention to Naruto and Haku. And you? Naruto spoke first, saying, I want Dosu. He grinned sadistically. Orochimaru smiled back at him. And you? Haku calmly replied, I'll take Saku. Orochimaru approved their choices. Very well, the matches will be tomorrow. If you win, we'll find you a more permanent location. You are dismissed. Everyone bowed and left Orochimaru's office, heading towards their assigned lodgings. Should Gaara befriend Naruto before or after the invasion?